developmental disability could have a real relationship in the future?
No, I mean, do they even understand what a relationship is? I don't think they do.
So do you think that people with a disability are less likely or more likely to be sexually abused?
I think they're more likely to get sexually abused, because sometimes children with developmental disabilities don't understand they have a lack of understanding the proximity that we should have between a stranger and themselves. So sometimes the person can approach them and they will just consider that as a nice gesture, kind of thing.
Why do you think that people with developmental disabilities are not really taught about sex ed?
I think it's because the religious schooling system came back and we no longer teach sex ed.
I thought they would do that in high school or elementary even.
Did you know that there are no sex ed programs in Quebec?
What?
Yeah. There's none.
I did not know that.
There's no sex ed programs in Quebec?
No.
Are you serious? I never knew that.
Did you know that in a study, 83% of women and 32% of men with a developmental disability reported to have been sexually abused?
No, I didn't know that. Those numbers are quite high.
My child's not interested in sex.
I don't want to teach my child about sex because I don't want him to get any ideas.
I don't really feel comfortable talking to her about it, and I don't know who I can ask.
Even though he's a teenager, he's still a child.
Sex education is often thought to be just about sex.
Sex education is not only about sex.
Sex education is about
Whether a child has a disability or not, they will still pass through developmental stages of becoming a sexually mature adult.
people with developmental disabilities have the right to sex education.
Educators and parents should work together to provide their children and students with the necessary info to make independent, healthy life choices around sexuality.
Why is there no sex education for people who have a developmental disability?
Did you know that people with a developmental disability are 2 times more likely to be sexually abused than their peers?
Also, in a study, 83% of women and 32% of men report to having sexually abused.
Looking at how high these numbers are, why isn't there sex education being taught to teens and young adults?
Most studies found that people believe that they are either asexual and that they do not understand anything about sex, or that they should not be taught so that they don't get any ideas.
When discussing with parents with children who have disabilities, the most common theme that has been seen was denial.
Most parents know that their children should be educated, but just refuse to actually educate them.
They either think that their child will not be interested in sex, or that they will not need to know anything about it because they won't ever have the chance to be in a sexual relationship. In Quebec, there are no legal obligations to teach a child with or without disability about sex education. However, they are starting a pilot project.
For a 2-year-long period, 15 schools in Quebec will be receiving a mandatory sex education class in both elementary and high school. There will be no exceptions, meaning that every student must participate regardless of their religion or of their parents' choice.
The SCC does have the professional obligation to create and work on goals surrounding the areas of socialization, education, and personal development. Sex ed may fall into these categories and could be considered by the SCC as an important topic to cover to fully help the client develop.
However, since parents are legally responsible for their child until a certain age, they do have the right to refuse sex education since it is not yet a mandatory course in Quebec.
Informing parents and professionals of what sex education actually is may help them understand why it's important.
Explaining why it is so important and how it could possibly positively impact their child or client may also help get them on board.
Providing resources and having training by either the local CLSC, school nurses, or sexologists around sex education may help parents and professionals feel supported and acknowledged and more comfortable when teaching this subject.
Special programs should be designed and implemented to accommodate the needs and learning styles of the child that is being taught to ensure their success.